You're listening to the Career Bootcamp, your supply chain career accelerated, a 5-podcast series sponsored by IBM and powered by Procurious. Hello, I'm Helen McKenzie, Principal Advisor at Procurious, and I'm your host for this series that's designed to get your wheels moving forward towards the supply chain role of your dreams. Our podcast features coaches from supply chain, academia, and the world of cycling. They'll be sharing their top career tips and how you can learn from their experience to get ahead. Today's coach is Ron Castro, Vice President of Supply Chain at IBM. Ron is responsible for all aspects of IBM's global end-to-end supply chain, delivering to clients across more than 170 countries. Ron is leading the digital and cognitive transformation program that is leveraging emerging technologies to build transparent, intelligent, and predictive supply chains at scale. Ron's worked in a variety of roles in IBM, including one accountable for the operation of manufacturing and fulfillment sites worldwide, and another based in China supporting the growth market unit. Ron takes an active role in supporting skills development and education. Ron is an executive board member of the DBMA's Supply Chain Leaders in Action, a member of the National Association of Manufacturers Manufacturing Leadership Council, on the University of Tennessee Supply Chain Institute Advisory Board, and on the Board of Directors for Haven Health Services, an organisation that provides support services for young people and their families. Welcome to the podcast, Ron.
Hey, thank you, Helen.
Your bio has examples of a wide range of roles and locations. Can you tell our listeners the story of how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, certainly. It has really been a journey around the world and around many areas of the supply chain. I'm actually originally from Costa Rica. I came to the school in the U.S., to Purdue University in the Midwest, where I got both my industrial engineering bachelor as well as master's degrees with a focus on operations management. Ended up joining IBM a couple of decades ago, and I have had the pleasure to rotate through basically every aspect of the supply chain, including production control, scheduling, planning, inventory management, distribution logistics, procurement, order fulfillment, manufacturing, engineering, you name it. Along the way, I was fortunate enough to live across the United States, but also across the world, wherever I could bring value. This includes places like Brazil, France, Australia, and China. And along the way, really met fantastic people.
That's great, Ron. It's a good example of the opportunities that a career in supply chain gives for people to work in many different disciplines and across a number of different locations. So that's great news for our listeners who are wanting to get on and do a lot of great things in their career. Okay, our podcast's about cycling. Is this something that you do on a regular basis?
Funny enough, absolutely. So we now live in Cary, North Carolina, and the conditions here are just amazing for mountain biking, which I actually do on a regular basis. And it's one of the things that I use to re-energize both my body as well as my mind. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, we started this tradition. It's an annual tradition where a few friends of mine go and we ride at different locations, always nice places with mountains and lakes. And it's really a great time to charge up your batteries and have a bit of fun as well.
Yes, I think it's really important, isn't it, to have a balance between work and also something that can help you let off steam and re-energize yourself. So it's good to hear that you've got that and you're a keen biker. Okay, what things have you done in the past to help you differentiate yourself in your own career and move forward?
I would say one of the things that I really gained incredible value by rotating across the supply chain and the business. It helped me develop a very strong network and really the capability to better connect the dots and be able to do and make much faster and better decisions. It also enabled me to be a supply chain subject matter expert and making me a very strong coach and enabler for the organization. I also think being a holistic thinker has really helped me approach problems from a different perspective. It's not just about optimizing your specific area and metrics, but it's really about doing what's right for your clients and for the company. One that has made a difference is that +1 is being engaged and involved across initiatives. You need to deliver on your day job, of course, but the extra activities get you noticed and grow you as a leader. And also some of the, what I would call the basics in leadership. You need to have passion, grit, set clear personal goals, both for you as well as the organization, and thirst to explore and learn, rethink how to lead effectively under different circumstances, and really willingness to change and drive change, always being bold and aiming high.
And that variety of roles that you've done, I would assume that's given you lots of opportunities to develop skills in different contexts. You talked about being in something like production control, and then obviously now you're in a role around transformation and digital. And presumably you're getting to use different skills there, are you? In production, is it much more of a very focused operational lens that you would look at problems and look at issues with in that context?
Yeah, absolutely, Helena. And actually, in my current role, I lead the end-to-end supply chain operations as well. So I own both the transformation as well as running our IBM supply chain.
So you've got a number of hats you wear, so it depends on what meeting you're in or what context you're in, what skill set you'd bring out for that particular issue or that particular meeting then.
Absolutely, and different circumstances require different leadership approaches and different expertise as well.
Yeah, okay. So moving on then, what are some of the mistakes that you see people making in their careers?
All right, well, first of all, we all make mistakes, and I've definitely made a few myself, and the key thing is to try to learn from them. Some of the mistakes that jump out at me are folks playing it too safe, protecting the status quo, not willing to change and adapt to a changing world, the fear of failure. And one that I actually see quite often is aiming too low and achieving your targets. I would say aim higher, push yourself, go bold, fast, experiment. You can always course correct when you fail and have early warning systems that help you detect when you kind of run off course. But just keep learning and moving forward.
And how do you encourage your team then to be a bit more adventurous and to push themselves in terms of targets or in terms of taking some risks, obviously not huge risks, but to trying to be bold and do different things? What would you do as a leader in that context to help them?
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Because I actually, we need to accept failure. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. As a leadership team, if you want to innovate, if you want to change the world, you need to fail sometimes. If you're not failing it means you're always playing it safe. So it's building an organizational culture that will accept some failures, but at the same time, be able to detect those failures quickly so you can course correct. Focus on agile principles so you can start small, do a minimum viable product, and then grow from there. So that you can, if you fail, it's a small failure and also a significant impact for the organization. So it's building that culture of innovation that makes a difference.
Oh, that's really useful in terms of if somebody's thinking of taking your advice and trying some new things and experimenting, then that MVP approach, that early warning system that you've talked about, that will be really helpful for them to think about how they can build that into their practice. So thanks for that. You've been a manager and leader for many years across the world, across all these disciplines. In your experience, why is it important to put effort into your team rather than just your own personal development?
Yeah, for me, it's very simple. As a leader, my team is the highest priority. Engagement and organizational capability is a space where I spend a lot of my time. We work very hard in supply chain. We spend many, many hours in the office, and when there's a critical client issue or a quarter ends, hours are very long. But in this environment where we work so hard, we also focus on having fun, building the most engaged, skilled, and inclusive organization where everybody can be comfortable being themselves and doing their best job. Let me show you kind of a clear example. We always solicit feedback about many dimensions of the organization. As a senior leadership team, we listen very carefully to all the feedback, and we've actually launched several squads around themes, areas of improvement, that will make our organization climate a much more positive one. we have seen outstanding results and very much improved morale. And before I leave, I don't want to leave this point without touching on the topic of enabling employees with the resources and educational opportunities to improve their own skills. With all new technologies we have today, the impact those technologies are having in supply chain, keeping up your technical as well as soft skills is crucial. We do enable employees to learn new skills with on-the-job training as well as classroom training.
That's great. I mean, there's lots of resources there that you've talked about that can help teams to be successful. And I like the idea that you talked about at the beginning as leaders of being open to feedback. And, you know, sometimes it's quite challenging when you're a leader if your staff do give you feedback, if you've not asked for it, or even if you have and they it wasn't quite what you're expecting. So it's good that you've got that culture in your team, and that's helping people to contribute to success by giving you some pointers and some tips about how you can improve what you're doing as well. Is that the case? Do you always accept your feedback gracefully then, Ron, when you get it?
We try to. It's always, we're all humans at the end of the day, but I mean, feedback is really a gift, and sometimes it's not that easy for the person giving the feedback. So we definitely need to make sure we create an open environment, respect, where input is received, and more importantly, it's actioned on.
Excellent. Yeah, you're quite right. If people can see that stuff's happened after you've given feedback, it does encourage them to do more. Okay, we're nearing the end of the podcast now, and we're on to the point where we're asking you for your advice. And thinking back to yourself on an earlier stage in your career, what would you say was the most important factor that you would advise yourself that would be able to contribute to your success?
Okay, one key advice is stick to it. Even when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, even failure and tough situations are great opportunities to learn. So have grit, stay on it, never give up, and things at the end, they do work out. Build relationships and create networks so that you can gain different perspectives and drive up much more effectively your projects. Another one is your career is not a sprint. Don't get burned out. It's a long ultra marathon. So work hard, but also play hard. Make sure you keep your work-life balance right and recharge your mind and your body. And finally, I mean, it's important to have a life, experiences outside work. So travel the world, learn new cultures.
Absolutely, and get on your mountain bike and get on those cycling holidays as well, eh? Okay, so what would be one action then that our listeners could take right now to follow the advice that you've got given? Have you got a tip that they can put into place right now that we can leave them with?
Yeah, and I'll give you more than one, but I'll net it out here. And first, be bold. It's better to shoot for the stars and hit the moon. Also, make time for the important things. It's not just the urgent, but the important things will definitely define your career. Third, take care of your mind and the body. Be balanced. Be a holistic thinker. Build a strong network inside and outside your work and industry. Skills becomes obsolete after you leave school. So keep your skills up, look ahead, and reskill. And finally, have passion, have grit. Love what you do. If not, you truly need to find something else. I would net it down to those 7, Helen.
They're absolutely brilliant, they are. And the loving what you do, I mean, I love procurement and supply chain, and you obviously do as well, because you've made a very successful career in it. So thank you very much to Ron Castro, Vice President of Supply Chain at IBM, for being our Career Bootcamp coach on this episode. You've been listening to the Career Bootcamp podcast series, your supply chain career accelerated, sponsored by IBM and powered by Procurious. Why not head on over to the Supply Chain Pros group on Procurious, where you'll find lots more related content. If you have a question about the series or for our guests, please use the discussion board on Procurious or the hashtag Career Bootcamp on Twitter. Thank you for listening.